give me this mic and I'm going to turn it on? Come on, wake up.
Hey, here it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I put the mic in there, but I forgot to turn it on. It's a little better when you turn it on. I'm providing invocation today is Ginger Wallace, Director of Development at Parks Alliance of Louisville, and Paul Harris, Fellow +1.
First, let me say welcome, Dean. As a retired Air Force veteran and an Air Force Academy graduate, first I'd like to say congratulations on being the Chief Trophy last year. You made it back to West Point from the Air Force Academy. And second, thank you for your service. Rotary and the military share a number of values, service being one of them. The context might be a little bit different, but it is still service. And in Rotary, our service is about helping our fellow human beings, those that are in need, those that are less fortunate. We're motivated perhaps by different things, but I know some of us are motivated because at some point in our lives there was someone there for us who gave us the help that we needed. So I'm going to read a poem by Ray Hansel, and as I do, reflect as you see fit and perhaps recommit to our service as Rotarians. Make a difference each day you live. Open your heart, learn to give. Life for many is so unkind. Giving people are hard to find. So open your heart, give what you can. We're all responsible for our fellow men and women. It's so easy to look the other way, but the tables could turn on any given day. So help if you can, for one day you may be the one who's down and out, the one no one will see.
That was nice, actually. Now, to lead the pledge and forward test is Joyce Seymour, who you all see greeting at the beginning. She's Paul Harris, Fellow +1, who just happens to be the longest serving female member of our club. She was one of the very first. She was one of the very first women to join our club in 1988. So I think it's fitting that she kicks off this in Women's History Month. But also, I happened to Google it just out of curiosity. You know, who won the Derby that year? It was Winnie Collins, one of 3 fillies to win. So you're the female, I guess. And she not only received our club's Lifetime Service Award, which is a big deal, in 2013 and 14, but she also received the Rotary International Service of Self Award. She chairs our hospitality committee and talks to everybody here, and faithfully shows up early each week to help Tracy at the check-in table and to help everybody feel welcome here. Thanks.
I'm not collecting any badges right now. Rotarians and guests, the flag of our country, I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is one of my favorite things, is the 4-way test. And I love doing this. I want you to close your eyes as you say it with me. Close your eyes, I'm watching you. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Not bad, not bad.
Good job, Joyce. Now it's time to introduce your guests, and actually we get a little change here. The guest, the mic is right here, so introduce your guests, your name first, and their name, title, and organization, and the guest, while your name is called, just stand up at the table.
Get closer.
It says it's on. Here, hand him this mic, Kevin.
My first guest is my wife, Anne Greenwell. Then my daughter, Catherine, whose husband, Mike, is a West Point graduate and was made to make Mike's good friends, Katarina and Matt Ashburn. Matt is a West Point graduate. And he's a former
I know there's some other guests here, but it's going to be a Rotary spotlight this week is Gil Holland. The Unknown Country was a film that he was the executive producer of that film. Was nominated for what's called a Spirit Award, which is basically the Oscar Award for independent films for indies. Congratulations to Gil. I also want to remind everyone of our membership initiative, which Jay Mallory started a few weeks ago. The opportunity of lunch covered here for a prospective Rotarian you bring as a guest. When you see leaders in the community being recognized, or just friends you know, make sure they know about Rotary, invite them to a meeting, and at your table, you should see cards which you can give out to them saying basically, you know, what we do, and there's a free lunch with us. So there are many more of those cards if you need them. We sold all 150 of our Day at the Downs tickets. Well, fortunately, we were able to purchase some more. They will go fast, though, so if you're planning to join us, don't wait to register. Just a word of warning, before they bought more tickets, they ended up selling mine in the secondary market at $290, so these things are pretty valuable. Look for details and registration links in the weekly Sparks or on our website. I'd like to invite to the podium Jerry Martin, Vice President of Ruby Hill Capital LLC, and Paul Harris, Fellow Plus 4, to introduce today's speaker.
Our guest speaker today is Wegner. He is an Army veteran and entrepreneur, and his priorities in life are aligned with God, family, and country. Dean graduated from West Point in 1993 and served 7 years in the Army as a helicopter pilot and a Ranger. After the Army, the majority of Dean's business career was spent in business development, marketing, and strategy with Procter & Gamble. Known for their marketing skills. In 2017, Dean founded Authentically American, a veteran-owned, American-made apparel brand, recently featured in Forbes, Fox News, MSNBC, NASDAQ, Newsmax TV, and Sirius XM Radio. As a former Division I ice hockey player, Dean is highly competitive, possesses a tireless work ethic, and he still plays in men's beer league every week, probably the sharp elbow. What drives him most is his insatiable desire to make a difference. He's active in his church and serves on the board of several for-profit and non-profit companies and organizations. Dean and his bride Kelly live in Nashville, have been married for 29 years. They have 4 children, with the youngest being adopted from Ethiopia. Please welcome Mike.
Before Jerry sits down, if you don't know Jerry, after a little bit about him, I mean, what a great American. I mean, served our country, Vietnam veteran. If you're not familiar with honor play, involved with honor play, so it's humbling to be up here with Jerry. You're a great American. Thank you. But it does feel strange being an Army veteran and have to be introduced by a Navy guy. Are there any Army or West Point veterans out here? Now I know the ones who are going to laugh at all my dumb jokes. So it is truly an honor to be here, and I had no idea Kevin, the 14th largest Rotary Club in the world. And what did you say, 20, how many committees?
Or 25 committees?
25 committees. I mean, I love being part of Rotary. I love being a part of it. And it's just an honor to be here and have an opportunity to share. And I'm going to share a quick 1-minute video to kick it off. And it's going to ask the question, what does it mean to be an American? It's a crazy world we live in right now. Think of the war in Ukraine, think of the war in Gaza, the election. I mean, there is just a crazy world, but think of that question, what does it mean to be an American?
What does it mean to be an American? Being an American means being free and protected by the men and women who sacrifice their lives to serve our country. It means giving back to the communities in which we live and work, and believing in the power of hard work and the American worker. It means treating other Americans with dignity and respect, even in the midst of disagreement. Being an American is an honor and a privilege. These American values are the foundation of Authentically American. As a veteran-owned company, we are a brand that celebrates patriotism and gives back to our American heroes. We are passionate about creating American jobs. Everything we produce is made USA with no exceptions. We strive to represent the absolute highest level of quality in everything we do. Help build the America you want to see. Be authentically American. Where is yours made?
To me, the spirit of our country is all about making a difference. And that's why I love here being with fellow Rotarians, because it's all about service above self. And today I'm going to share some stories, I'm going to share some anecdotes, and hopefully we'll have some fun, and they'll be entertaining stories, hopefully they'll be engaging. And I'm hoping there's one story that I share, just one that will hopefully personally connect with you, that will inspire you to make a difference even more with your family, within your community, within your work, wherever you are every day. So I'm going to start it off just sharing a picture of my family. So my wife Kelly and I this year will celebrate 30 years. I've got two of my classmates here, and they know I'm a lot to put up with. So she's a saint for putting up with me for 30 years. So we have four amazing kids. We have two daughters, 25 and 22. We have a 19-year-old son and a 13-year-old son we adopted from Ethiopia. And the newest member of Team Wegner is Simba, our little Aussie doodle there. And I show this because I think in this room, there's a lot of type A, very hard-driving personalities, and I always have to remind myself that ultimately, this is what's most important. If we're incredibly successful in business, we build this iconic American brand, but I've lost touch with my family, I've lost touch with the ones I love, it's all for naught. So I say this as much as a reminder for me of anything that never loses sight of what's ultimately what's most important. And I'm going to share a shocking number with you. 150 million. 150 million. That's the number of orphans in the world. We don't have a mom or dad. We don't have a loving home like most of us grew up in, or we try to provide to our kids. And my wife and I heard that number and initially thought, well, what the heck are we going to do? 150 million, what can we do? And then we talked and prayed about it and said, we can't adopt them all, but we can adopt one. And I'll show you the very first picture we got of my son's skeleton. Our hearts just melted, and we just knew God meant for a skeleton to be our son. It was just almost love at first sight. And a quick, funny story, you see how messy this shirt is? We initially thought, oh my goodness, he's been wearing that shirt for a week. Nope, that was one day. He's the messiest eater you've ever seen, still to this day. But he is an amazing young man. He's been with us since 2012. And it's incredible, the domino effect, the number of people that met him, heard his story, and in turn decided to adopt. And here's a more recent picture of him. And he is just an amazing young man. And, what's crazy is my oldest daughter is not even dating anyone seriously. She's already said she's going to adopt. So it's amazing, what one decision can make and the impact it can have. So, West Point, that was my undergrad, and there's 3 words. I think if you ask, all 50,000 living graduates what West Point's all about, 3 words, 90% or more would say duty, honor, country. And probably the biggest lesson I learned from that is building a company and building a brand from scratch is how important it is to really instill those values that are really the rock and the center of who you are as a company. And that has really instilled in me, those disciplines and that structure that lives with me today. And I was a hockey player at West Point. And if you ever saw me play, I'm not very good. I was a fourth line grinder, which doesn't make for a great hockey player, but makes for a great scrappy entrepreneur. So I chose aviation as my branch, and I still remember to this day raising my right hand and committing to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And I mean, it was just a deep sense of pride and a sense of, a higher calling, a higher sense of service. And that's something that really resonated with me. And as we were looking to go ahead and build a brand, start to put our business plan together, I watched a podcast. Anyone know this guy? Simon Sinek. His big question is start with the why. And if you looked on our website, you would see that the heart of our mission is our passion for creating American jobs. We just happen to be in the apparel business. And I wish my team was here, because if you could talk with each and every one of them, you'd hear that same level of passion that, we want to build a strong, healthy, successful business, but it's all about making a difference. It's all about changing the game within the apparel industry. One unique thing I did after flight school is went to Ranger School. Anyone familiar with Ranger School? Yeah, it's miserable. It is awful. It is absolutely terrible. And if you're not familiar with it, I'll share a little bit of background. There's a lot of military doctrine and tactics as part of Ranger School, but at its core, it's a leadership course. And what they do is they deprive you of everything you think you need to survive, namely food and sleep, and then put you in incredibly stressful situations. So on day one, there were 340 of us. And if you make it straight through in 72 days, you live on 1 meal a day and 2 to 3 hours sleep a night. And then they put you in incredibly stressful situations. And over those 72 days, we lost 80% of our class. And there were only 70 of us left on graduation day, so this was a huge day of celebration. We just made it through those 72 days. Take a look at this close-up. Do I look happy? It was miserable. So I learned 2 things. One, what lengths your body can go through. What you don't even realize. But here's the more important lesson I learned, because being a flight suit wearing aviator, Ginger, I had no reason being at the Army Special Forces Ranger School. But the one reason I made it straight through was this guy, Roy Backey. You're assigned a Ranger buddy, and your Ranger buddy is assigned to have your back, to always be there. When you have a need, to always be there. And that's the lesson that I learned, that life can be hard. Life can be incredibly difficult. And if you're going to do something incredibly challenging, don't do it alone. Find that Ranger buddy in life, and do it with your spouse, do it with a business partner, do it with somebody. Don't do something alone. And what's really neat is 30 years later, Roy and I are still in touch. Still talk about those terrible experiences we had. So I tell everybody now, I'm a veteran and an entrepreneur, but when I left the Army in 2000, I couldn't even spell entrepreneur. I had no idea this world existed, and reason being, I had an amazing dad growing up, and for 30 years he worked for a Fortune 500 company. And that's what all of his friends, that's what all his neighbors did, so that's the only world I did. So what did I do? Work for big companies, work for Procter & Gamble and Mars. And if you're not familiar with those names, I'm sure you're familiar with brands like Crest and Tide and M&M's and Snickers, and that's what I did. I worked in sales and marketing, business development, and so thankful for that experience, because they're both just world-class marketing and branding companies to learn a ton. But to give you some perspective, P&G is a massive $80 billion company. And I want to know that I'm making a difference, and really struggled, really felt like I was a cog in the wheel. And that was the catalyst to become an entrepreneur. But back to not being able to spell entrepreneur, I didn't think I had it in me to start a business from scratch. So I entered the entrepreneurial ranks through acquisition and bought my first business in 2012. And I'll guarantee it's a business you never would have heard of. But if you're familiar with it, if you've ever seen a picture like this, if you've been to a parade, you've been to a sporting event, you've seen a national anthem and the military's there, these fancy dress uniforms, that was the business we were in. Bought a government contractor that produced dress uniforms for the military. So thousands of uniforms every week for Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. And one thing I learned was the tragic history of the apparel industry. Just to give you an idea, again, how rare American-made is. When I graduated from West Point in '93, over 50% was made in the U.S. Today's 3%. 3% is all that's made here. And I'm passionate about creating jobs, and my initial thought was I want to win more contracts and we'll create more jobs, but then I realized that the government contracting industry is a bidding process. And you don't actually create jobs, it's more of a job transfer. And that was that light bulb moment for me that said, what if? What if instead of being a government contractor, what if we built a brand? And I thought back to the days of Crest and Tide and M&Ms, and I also thought, what if instead of what 97% of brands do and chase cheap labor overseas, what if we made the intentional choice to produce right in the U.S.? And that's where it started in 2017 with a vision to build this iconic American brand with the same recognition of the Nike or Polo. And I got to tell you, I'm exhausted. It is the hardest, most challenging thing I've ever done, but truly I am feeling energized, truly like I have an opportunity to make a difference. And one of the things I've wrestled with is people don't know who we are. Before this meeting we're introduced, who had ever heard of Authentically American? That hurts my feelings. It's not surprising though, because apparel is a massive $300 billion industry. So again, I learned a ton at P&G and Mars, and back in those days, we literally had Super Bowl budgets. I mean, we had a Super Bowl budget. Guess how big my marketing budget is? It's about this big. So although we didn't have a big marketing budget, what we did have is this feel-good American story, being veteran owned and American made. So we decided to play that earned media card, have an opportunity to get as much free press and PR as we could. And I'm going to show you a clip from our very first appearance. This goes all the way back to 2018. And I remember getting a call from a producer at Fox and Friends, and literally I fell out of my chair like, this can't be real. And truth be told, I was incredibly nervous. I had no idea 2 million people tune in every day to Fox and Friends. So I'm going to share the last 1 minute of this segment, and if you're a NASCAR fan, you may recognize the person who's with me. Old DW is a good friend now, and he's an investor, so watch this last 1 minute clip.
You're not going to pick up many pieces of apparel that has made in the USA. These products, every one of them, across the board, are all made in this country.
Well, what about American or Nike saying, we're going to market the idea that you don't have to stand for the flag?
Well, I don't agree with that.
I sense that.
I don't agree with that at all. It's unfortunate that we're in that situation, or that the NFL is.
And I believe, good or bad, we're defined by the choices we make. And we're being very intentional in the choices we make. And the simple thing about stamp, I also am an American, believe in the Constitution, and freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So I don't need to talk about what everyone else is doing. What I can talk about is what we do. And the simple thing about Stan, my background with our family, when we're talking to the kids and somebody walks in, what do we ask them to do? We ask them to stand and shake hands and look them in the eye. That's a sign of respect. Military. When a commanding officer, when your superior walks in, you stand up. And it's not about what anyone else is doing. This is the choices that we're making. And our position is, if you're a business, your values are authentically American-like, we want you to call us.
All right, and listen, if you'd like more information about their products, go to authenticallyamerican.us.
What'd you think? It was scary. It was scary. I mean, it was surreal being there. And we were the last segment of the day. And we had an opportunity to spend another 15 minutes with them. And one of the questions they asked had a profound impact. They said, Dean, you really believe this, don't you? And I said, 100%. I do, with every bit of my heart and soul. And they said, passion is contagious. And I started thinking through, we talked to our teams, and I thought of somebody, the most passionate person I could think of. I mean, Martin Luther King, think back to his I Have a Dream speech. I mean, he didn't inspire just something small, it was a movement. And I realized that I not only need to be passionate, our team needs to be passionate. I mean, we really need to truly believe in what we do. And it's amazing how that passion truly is contagious, because you saw the very first time we were on national TV. Over the last 4 years, we've been over 20 times. And that's the common theme that we get is, you know what, you truly believe it. I mean, you love it. I mean, it's part of it. And again, it's been the most difficult, challenging thing we've ever done, but you know what, that has been the huge lesson that has taken away, that passion is contagious. So, anyone recognize this guy? So Pete Henson, he's a fellow veteran, he's an Army veteran, and I met him, I'll tell a quick fun story, the very first time in studio, and I gave Pete a pair of socks. I gave Pete this fun pair of socks right here. Anyone a big sock person here? Love to wear fun socks? I see a lot of hands go up. I mean, socks are the new ties. It's just a fun way. Kevin, sorry, you look very sharp in your tie, but you're ruining my story. But socks are just a fun way, and I met Pete, gave him a pair of our socks. A year later, was invited back, and Pete was interviewed. And he said, Dean, it's so great to see you again. I still have the socks you gave me. They're my favorite pair. And I said, Pete, please say that on national TV. And he did, and it was incredible because the spike in traffic and sales, but what he said really enforced a key point because he didn't mention anything about them being American made. He said they're so soft, so comfortable, they have this fun, patriotic design, that's why they're his favorite pair. But when you have a product experience like that, you want to learn more, and you'll read the fine print that says designed in Nashville and made in North Carolina. We have 11 states that we have manufacturing, but the important point that we realize that it's fine to talk about being American made, it's fine to talk about being veteran owned, but we're a consumer brand. And if we don't deliver an amazing product experience, then we fall flat, and that's ultimately what's most important. So I'll share one more story. Who's ever been to the Army-Navy game? Isn't it incredible? And Ginger, thank you for acknowledging who is holding the committee.
It's the most amazing thing. Army-Navy, and I'll say that as their first contract. It's the most amazing.
It truly is, and I'm going to show another one. If you haven't been, in person to see the march on, be a part of it, I mean, it is a bucket list item. It is something truly incredible. So, Jerry, could I ask you to come up? I need a little help with this one. You seem like a good sport, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. So, the most ubiquitous item is the T-shirt. So, actually, Jerry, it'll be easier if you stand on this side for me. Could you hold this for me? How many people own a T-shirt? Everybody, right? So, this T-shirt is incredibly soft and comfortable. We've got some samples that you can try later. And that's the way T-shirts should be. Not only the fabric, the print to include tagless, but this one has our new innovation, our sweat-activated innovation that I know Jerry's going to love. Because on the front it says Go Army, but Jerry, what happens when I spray? Watch what happens when I spray this. What does that say? He's at a loss for words. We'll show you even bigger. Jerry, what's that say? There he is. Jerry, you're a good sport. I will say we don't discriminate. We do have a Go Navy version, because even our Navy friends. Now, right? But I share this because people have literally said, Dean, no offense, I don't care what it's made. The shirt's so incredibly soft and comfortable, and the technology is just incredible. I love it. So just another reinforcement on, we got to deliver an amazing product experience. So another story, we believe in giving back. And one another way we do that is we have two pricing tiers. So if you're a for-profit business client of ours who's ordering custom polos and t-shirts and socks, you're paying full price. If you're the Rotary Club, your Tunnel to Towers, any nonprofit, you're paying a cost. So we don't make any money, but the difference those two, we've allowed and enabled hundreds of charities to help build their brand and raise some money in the process. Is anyone familiar with Tunnel to Towers? I mean, it's an incredible organization. And for those of you who aren't familiar, what they do is if you, as a first responder, for example, you're a police officer and you lose your life in the line of duty, they pay off your mortgage. Then your family never again has to worry where you live. So truly an incredible, quick backstory on the charity. So it was birthed out of 9/11. An incredibly brave firefighter, Stephen Siller, was off on that day, but heard everything going down on his radio in the towers. So he lived on the other side of the bridge and tried to drive in and couldn't get there. He put on 60 pounds of fireman gear, 60 pounds, ran 5 miles back to the tower, saved countless people's lives, but tragically in the process, lost his life. And for years, they would hold a run, just a bunch of firemen around the car table and I say, you know what, we can make a difference. We can get involved and we can do more. So it's incredible what they're doing. But I was introduced to Larry Olson, who's their chief marketing officer. And he was interested in what we're doing, and he asked a little bit about our brand, and I shared the 3%, and our tagline is, where's yours made? And Larry's like, Dean, I gotta believe everything we're buying is American made. I mean, we're serving veterans, we're serving first responders. He went back to check some inventory, he's like, Dean, I can't believe it. Everything's made in China, made in Bangladesh. And we need to fix that. So I want to see if your product truly is good. So he ordered a big test order. They ordered polos, t-shirts, socks. That was all custom to the towers. He called me 2 months later and said, Dean, everybody absolutely loves it. The shirts are soft and comfortable. Everyone wants to wear it, and it's American made. And since you do it at cost, you make it affordable. Larry called me last Christmas and listened to this story. He said, Dean, a proud veteran donated at a monthly minimum level, so we sent him one of our hats. That veteran opened up the package, saw a made in China tag, he cut that hat in shreds, sent it back to me with one note that said, shame on you. Shame on you. And Larry said, Dean, that's why we're switching. You guys have aligned values, you are American made, and our veterans and our first responders, they deserve more. So, one last story. Anyone know what this movie is from, this clip? Karate Kid. And here is a big mistake I made early on. You know, back in 2017, when we were putting together our business plan, I thought apparel is incredible. It's a $300 billion industry. And Kevin this morning put on a shirt. You know, my West Point classmates put on a shirt, and I thought, unless you live in a nudist colony, then you're a target customer of ours. Do you guess how well that worked, that focus? I mean, the line from this movie was, your focus, need more focus. And what I realized is we can't be all things to all people. We really need to find that niche. And, you know, this shirt, for example, you know, I'm tagging pictures on social media almost every day, and we realize that one group that really does love our brand is the veteran. Veterans don't want made in China. Veterans don't want, you know, Nike. They want a brand like ours. They just don't know we exist. So we need to focus all of our limited marketing budget on that veteran community. And as we did our due diligence, the numbers astounded me. There's 400,000 veteran-owned businesses with 10 or more employees. There's 40,000 veteran-focused charities. And we're working with hundreds of clients. But that means you do the quick math, it's 0.1% of our target customers. So from all things to all people, my new mantra is the riches are in the niches. And if you're ever starting a business, you're struggling, I mean, start there. You know, who is that target customer? Who is it that you're a part of? So that was it, Delene. I know you want to leave a little time for Q&A.
Let me switch over here. Kevin, you're up.
One question, we'll announce it from Delene here, so go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that our guest speaker, Dean, has come at his own expense from Nashville today to be with us, and has generously, I asked him to bring some samples of his product, and he has generously offered, if you do want to buy something, you know, they don't have it in stores. So you have an opportunity to not drive to Nashville to get something or pay shipping costs. If there's something you're interested in, there's a table over there, and he is donating 20% of every sale to our club. So I know we normally don't do commercial things. This is kind of an exception to that. So if you're not interested, please feel free to walk on by.
All right.
And now if you would go to that microphone to ask your question, please.
Don't want to confuse people. We're changing where the microphone is today. So, you know, I think I worked at GE many years ago. We used to think that P&G was the best branding company in the entire world. You know, obviously a big company, it's $80 billion when it was paper. Compare like when you left there, you had the kind of knowledge, the perspective on how to market, etc. And you also didn't have the money, you know, big company. But so talk through, like, you came with sort of knowledge and perspective and goals. But you had to start up a new company, some of the challenges that you ran into there.
So I think a big part of why I'm exhausted is everything I took for granted at P&G and Mars, from the supply chain, the systems, process, everything, we had to build from the ground up. But, another example of finding that ranger buddy in life, when I needed some help financially, called up 3 of my friends who were CFOs, and they got involved. And we don't have a big marketing budget, we don't have a big team, but when you have something that you believe in, when you've got something that people want to be a part of, and that passion is contagious, and you build those relationships, that's been a big part of it.
And some of the things like that in your business is that people start up and they run into this big opportunity here, and then something else happens, and a few hiccups along the way. Can you think of some hiccups along the way that made you think, boy, is this going to work out?
Anyone remember what happened in 2020? That was a big hiccup that nobody was planning on. So I think, we really had to embrace that, as a new business. You're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to have everything in your playbook. So I think it's just continuing to stay true to who our mission is, what we're all about, and continuing to innovate and bring great product to market. And then I think probably that biggest shift is where I talked about going from all things to all people to really finding our niche, because now, even though we have a limited marketing budget, we can be laser focused on who that target customer is.
How many employees are in your company now?
So most of our workforce, Kevin, is all outsourced. So all of our finance, IT, accounting, digital marketing, all that's outsourced. So there's 8 of us, lean and mean. And I remember back year 1, I created the strategic business plan, put together all the supply chain and everything. I scrubbed the toilets, I did it all. And that's the mindset now in a small business, that you can't just do one little thing. As you're nodding your head, as a small business owner, you got to do a little bit of everything. So we're lean and mean and doing everything we can to go ahead and continue to grow.
I think you said you had a dozen factories, a dozen states with factories.
11, yes.
11, sorry, close enough.
Yeah.
Is that because there's different niches they're in, or you want closer distribution, or what's the reason for having so many factories?
That is actually a question I get quite often. Like, well, Dean, why did you choose North Carolina for socks? Or why did you choose, Texas? And remember the 50% in 93 down to 3? It wasn't a choice. This was really about the last man standing, or the last factories open, because so much of it went overseas. These were the factories that were open and available, and the benefit of owning that government contracting company that was in the apparel business, that gave me an opportunity to find the best darn t-shirt maker in the country, and we found them here in Texas. And if you feel this, you'd be like, wow, that's the softest t-shirt. So it wasn't a choice on where they were. It wasn't some master supply chain area plan on where to go. It was just, these were the last ones standing who've done incredible work over decades.
And it sounds like, your perspective is pretty similar to the values of the Rotary Club, and we use different words, etc. And Nationals is the biggest one in the world. Do you do anything with them? Are you going to be involved with them? Nashville is the largest Rotary Club in the world, I believe.
If you haven't been, I would encourage you to come down and visit us, because I love being part of it here. Nashville, it's been booming, and the Nashville Rotary, there's over 500 members. I think it's the 3rd largest in the world. Correct me, Julian, I don't know the exact numbers, but it is big. And I'm a guest here today. We'd love to have you as a guest down in Nashville.
Hi, Dean. Ashley Brower with Max Strategic Communications, also small business owner, so appreciate it. Thank you for being here today. I'm curious about your supply chain. To your point, these are the few manufacturers left. Are you able to find all of your ingredients to every piece of all of your products made in America? Are they from America?
Actually, that's a great question, and in full transparency, 100% of all of our shirts and socks and everything are cut and sewn here in the U.S., but 90% roughly of our raw materials are. And when only 3% is here, there's just some things that aren't available, something that aren't viable, but we're not happy with 90%. There's no one else that's even close to that level. But as we continue to grow and expand and get more business, we want 90 to be 91, and 92 and 93, and actually we won't be happy. We won't truly be authentically American until we get to 100%.
Thank you for coming. My name is Ken Grossman, and my family's been in the apparel business. My great-grandfather was a German immigrant. He started a men's store in Lexington in 1867. So, But at any rate, we had a store in Louisville from 1898 to 1995. If there was a time when everything in an 11-art store was made in America. In 1996, I started my custom clothing business. And when I started, my tailored clothing was all made in North America, custom shirts made in America. Now, I would venture to guess, if you looked out in this crowd, that there's not a man here wearing a tailored garment that's made in America. Because you think about Hickey Freeman, Art Jackson Marks, Jay Shonen, Cricketier, all those factories, they're all gone. My custom clothing shop was, actually, you might be familiar with them, they're in Knoxville, Tennessee, a company by the name of John H. Daniel. And they were very proud that everything was made in America until about 7 or 8 years ago when they found they couldn't afford to make it in America anymore. And so there are certain industries that you can't make it here. And so, but I am proud to say our custom shirts are still made in the United States, and that's kind of a rarity. But thanks for what you're doing.
And one question I get often, when so much is going overseas, well, how do you compete? How do you have amazing product that's soft and comfortable but still parity priced? And there was a lot of time we spent on how we could do that, and it's really a business model choice. So think back to Dell's old business model, having to cut out the middleman. I mean, Delaney mentioned it, you can't find our product on Amazon. If you're a business and you want to partner with us, you can't buy our product through a third-party distributor. Everything has to be direct, because that way, if it's on Amazon, it gets marked up, or if we're selling to a distributor, they get marked up. So that's the only way, we can be competitive. And it's a longer build early on because we just don't have as many points of distribution. But we found that is the best long-term strategy for us, to really have highly engaged customers who love our brand and still maintain a competitive pricing. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Well, welcome. I'm Barbara Sexton-Smith, serve as Deputy Mayor of this great city, so welcome. Glad you're here. My question is, would you talk a little bit about that 10% that you're not able to source here in America in a way that might give some of us ideas of how to create that 10% right here in America? We're open for business.
Well, that is a great question, and I wish Sarah, who's our creative director, was here, because she could run down a list of every single item that's there. There's not a lot, Barbara, but that's something that we're working very aggressively to do, because we want to fix that. And I don't have specific examples right now, but I know there's a small percentage that isn't here, and that's not okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what are you looking to expand into other products besides what you currently offer?
So back to niches and being focused, we have very intentionally really narrowed it down, because Ken, wherever Ken went over here, I mean, looking super sharp in his sport coat and slacks and everything. So, we're not going to expand to that, because that is a completely different category. So people have asked, well, what's your product assortment? If you think of a Nike polo type brand, we have, dress shirts is about as fancy as we get, but we have polos and quarter zips and t-shirts and socks and hats. So, we're going to keep it fairly narrowly focused, but if you're a business and you wanted to see, there's over 50 pages in our product catalog. So, there's a lot we have, but I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to stray. We're going to stay focused.
I want to mention the last question before Deleen's. Barbara Sexton-Smith, you probably read about, she's retiring the end of, well, actually, in April.
Rewiring.
Sorry?
Rewiring.
She's rewiring, like I said. And really, she's, I don't know if you know Lacey Smith. And Lacey, in recent years, seems to be less dynamic than he always has been. He's one of the most dynamic guys you'll meet. But sitting next to her at these meetings, like, get out of the way. But the two of them are incredible people, and they're going to be, the goal is to try to get, business owners and other people, get them excited about what they do, find out how to get, she's going to bring passion to them, so they can, the way you're talking about passion, Dean, might be much more productive in whatever they do. But I think Barbara, I just want to pass on, she's known her for many years, and she's done one hell of a job, and I want to thank her for that.
D. Tran. I own several businesses, so I know how hard it is. I like to run a few thoughts for you, right? So first off is being a Vietnamese immigrant, being an American means big deal. Why do I emphasize that? Because it is the market that maybe you should think about. And, I would have you think about something like that. So I'll give you a few nuggets here. I am here 28 years and doing many things and have 1,000 people behind my back to have a series of business that I cannot dream of. Paying back and paying forward, simply to do one thing is to be a pure American. So that's a nugget for you. Why do I say that? Is because immigrants want to be American so bad, so authentic American product mean big deal to them. You probably think that targeting American is your primary goal, but it's probably maybe immigrant is where you should target the most. Okay, so that's level one, right? Now level two. I build product in America, in Louisville, Kentucky, and I will continue to build a lot more to simply ship it back to Vietnam. Why? Is because I can tell you, American-made product using the Zip, truck as an example, is still the #1 truck in Vietnam today. Okay? Well, let me frame it more simple. Is American-made product in Vietnam and even today is still a product coming from heaven. That's why I share to you guys all the time is America is heaven on earth. Which we are born in heaven, we don't know what hell is. So that's another nugget for you. If you happen to want to export, that's a thought that you gotta think about. And you happen to have the perfect brand name, so I'll compliment you for that as a small business owner. Okay? So have you think of the two things that I just shared to you at all is my question.
If you don't know Dee, I need to spend more time with Dee. I'm an entrepreneur, but the adjective I don't have is serial entrepreneur, and that's Dee, and he asks some very insightful questions. And I think from an immigrant standpoint, I think you are absolutely 100% spot on, because I met a gentleman named Vu, met him in LA, and he is doing some consulting in the employee resource group area. And he brought up the same point, Dee, so you're spot on. And just my fundamental belief is, think of how our country was founded. I mean, we were a melting pot. We were in essence a bunch of outcasts who all came together to go over and form this great nation of ours. So, Dee, if it's okay with you, we'd love to keep in touch and keep talking more. Thank you.
Dee, you're a hard act to follow. I was with him in Frankfurt, and he was firing on all cylinders. My name is Diane Clark, and I'm the CEO of a small nonprofit. I'm also the proud mom of a VMI cadet who's headed to USU. So my question is, how do you get Army-Navy tickets?
Well, Diane, that is a question I was wondering last year with it being in Boston, because it's hard, and I don't have, extra tickets, but what I always believe is not what you know, it's who you know, and invest in relationships. So I would just find a grad that you know and, ask them very nicely.
I'm Wendy Sergio. I'm a proud parent of a West Point cadet in his third year. And we have had the pleasure of getting to know Authentically American this year through our West Point Parents Club in Kentucky. We saw other parents up at West Point who had these fabulous t-shirts. Not the super soft t-shirts, but these were the performance wear t-shirts. There was a woman with the state of Florida, and it said West Point Parents Club of Florida. And I tracked her, of course. How do we get something from Kentucky? And she said, not only can you design something yourself for your parents' club, but they will help you use it as a fundraiser. So that is what we have been doing. And we've had great response. My husband's wearing a jacket that we had designed. U.S. Military Academy, Kentucky.
Yeah. It's been around.
My only modeling career opportunity.
But our experience with I've spent a lot of time on the phone with Sarah and with Pat, and they are amazing to work with. They really practice what they preach, and the quality is fantastic. We can't thank you enough for making the opportunity available to us as a club to raise funds to help support our cadets, and just want to thank you for this next iteration of your service, as well as what came before.
Maybe we worked on that spokesmodel contract.
Just a comment after Dee spoke. Most Americans are proud to be American, but as a group, immigrants are the proudest, and they see the difference. They see where we are into the freedom and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think sometimes just realize what we have and recognize it, be thankful for it. Because you didn't have to come here new from another country to appreciate what we have. My wife is from South Korea, and she met somebody who's from North Korea, actually, which is obviously much more isolated, information flow, etc. And she was literally asking, why do people at this church pray about heaven? She thought she was in heaven. So, sometimes you appreciate what you have here. But that was fantastic, really great.
Just to reinforce, I'll stay here as long as needed. So Delene mentioned, 20%, we're just donating all of our profit back. We believe it makes a difference, and that'll give you an opportunity, hopefully, to experience some of our amazing product. Thank you, everybody.
Next week's meeting will feature Jean James. She's a former FBI agent, and she's going to tell us about her time when she was undercover with the mafia. But don't tell them that, because they'll still get mad at her, so keep that secret. Please register by noon on Monday, or you can scan the QR code, or you can look at Craig instead. But guys, if you would, go over to this table where Craig, where is it? There he is. We're going to be over there where you're going to be. Craig's going to help the guests understand kind of what we do. Great meeting, thanks very much.